Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business podcast covering all things tech, engineering, innovation and motorsport. Hosted by me, Chris Broome.
And me, Fiona Pawley. This is a series of unscripted conversations with leading business owners and high-tech talent, talking about their experiences within the Silverstone and motorsport business communities.
Welcome to the next episode of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome, your wonderful host from the previous 100 episodes. But today's a very, very special episode number 101, where we are relaunching after 18 months in the wilderness, having a bit of time off. But I have an amazing co-host to introduce you to, the wonderful Fiona Pawley. Fiona, welcome to the show as a co-host.
Thanks, Chris. I'm very excited to be here for our lovely listeners. This has taken a little while for us to get our stuff together, really. You know what it's like, life and work. But we're doing it, and I am super thrilled to be joining you as the co-host of the Inside Silverstone podcast.
Well, look, we're super proud to have you on. For those that haven't listened to it yet, Fiona was episode number 81, where as a fantastic business coach and sort of development manager and extraordinaire, she sort of waxed lyrical about all the great things that she's doing, not just in sort of motorsport engineering and around Silverstone, but also just nationally and also internationally, jet setting around to different countries, supporting different businesses, doing what she does. So without any doubt, you need to go back to episode 81 and listen to it. And from my pre-show notes, you are sort of top 5 downloaded guest ever on the Inside Silverstone podcast. Yes. So round of applause for that. But why don't you remind everybody that hasn't listened to the previous episode a bit more about yourself, what you do, and really what you're hoping to sort of bring to the table as a podcast co-host.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I'll definitely take the crown as one of the top 5 downloads. And early plug, you know, like, subscribe, please give us a 5-star review. Yes. So I am a business coach, and I am a leadership development trainer. So I go into businesses, and I particularly work with engineering businesses, and I help people with their kind of development of their managers or leadership or technical report writing, that kind of thing. I'm really building up a lot of work around inclusive culture at the moment. And I think it's quite a sticky subject for lots of people, and they find it a bit uncomfortable. So we sort of tend to do the bare minimum and avoid and all of that kind of stuff. So I go into organisations and I help them take it out of the too difficult box, really, and start having some really honest and open conversations about how do we operate as a culture in our business. Nice. And sometimes culture is kind of organically created through a group of people coming together. And sometimes you need to have a little bit of a think about it and actually reconsider what you're doing and how you want to kind of operate as a business. So I help organisations do that. And then in my coaching, I like to coach kind of SME business owners. My background, going back, I used to work for SRO Motorsports Group, running motor racing championships, British Formula 3. I was event manager for the FIA GT championships and British F3 GT back in the day, and that's really given me kind of a sense of, you know, that racing mentality. We fix it by Sunday, you know, the timetable doesn't change. In motorsport, deadlines don't change. You either go racing or you don't go racing. And so I like to work with organisations where I can affect change relatively quickly and just make work a lot more fun and better and more engaging and more inclusive, really. That's what I do.
And so, interesting question to pose to you. So at Longhurst, we provide all of our clients access to professional coaching, whether that be leadership coaching, relationship coaching, and also sort of transitional coaching, whether that be selling out of a business or retiring or some other big life event which will emotionally impact you and at times compromise you. And what's been really interesting for me is attempting to introduce that type of additional service to the Silverstone community, which is, as we've identified, full of engineers, great with spreadsheets, great with building things, but talking about personal feelings and how and how that's potentially impacting your ability to perform at work or indeed at home as a partner, a father, a parent, or otherwise. How do you find that with this fantastic community that we sit in?
It is not an easy thing for people to get on board with. I talk about it a little bit like when you buy a holiday. So you know your destination, you know where you want to go, you pick the best time of the year for the weather, so you're not in monsoon season if you do your research, or you don't and you end up having a very wet holiday. You know, but you can do all of the planning and all of the kind of best endeavors when you're trying to book your holiday, but actually you only ever know what the experience is like once you get on the plane, get off the plane, check into the hotel, have the food, sit by the beach, watch the sunset, have that romantic moment, have that party moment, whatever it is. You only feel those feelings and that real impact of the choices that you've made once you get on the holiday. So coaching is a little bit like that. People almost have to get to a place where they know a destination, they want to make a change, or they're struggling with a life decision, like you're saying, might be selling a business or retiring, or or even much smaller than that. You've been an engineer and suddenly your boss has gone, you're great, you need to be a manager, and you're like, I don't like people. But okay. so
I don't like people.
I don't like people. Some
very
people
normal.
don't like people. And people are really complicated and difficult and complex. So coaching, what it does is it gives you the space, the time. It is the undivided attention that you need as an individual or as a business owner or as a partner, like you say, to really open the box of things that you're struggling with, talk about it, really be heard. Like, very rarely are we listened to in our day-to-day lives. And it is the responsibility of a coach to take on board the things that you're saying, good and bad, and then relay them back to you in a way that is generous and kind, but gets you to your destination. I'm fairly straight talking in my coaching. I'm quite no nonsense. If you're tolerating something, right?
Really?
If you're tolerating something, I'm going to challenge you on it. Why are you tolerate? Oh, we've always done it that way. Oh, worst sentence in the world ever. Yeah. So in terms of, in response to your question, which seems a long time ago, coaching is not necessarily for everyone. Coaching can appear to be quite expensive, but there's lots of different ways of accessing either a mentor or a coach to help you navigate through change, to help you operate in a way that you want to be, to move yourself forward from a situation that you're not happy with anymore, or you want to change. So I highly recommend it, obviously. But it isn't easy for people to take that step, because it is stepping into something that you won't really know or reap the benefits of until you've been through the process.
Yeah, sure. We're living in a post-COVID world.
Yeah.
We're living in a world that seems to be built and living in social media, artificial intelligence coming along quickly. A lot of people, I would suggest, suffering in some way with anxiety and work pressures and life pressures, etc. How have you found the last few years personally? How have your clients and friends found it, and certainly the community that we're part of here?
So I think the way I view COVID, and I'd be really interested to hear how you are finding it with your clients of Longhurst, because, the way I view it is everyone was in the same sea, but we were all in different boats.
Yeah.
Right? Even in the same household, one person could have been overworking because suddenly, you're saving the planet, not saving the planet, saving the population of the planet by creating PPE, and you're converting your business into, making hand sanitizer rather than shampoo, or, whatever you were doing. And then other people were completely in the wilderness, no work, no purpose, homeschooling. It was a very individual experience, on a mass scale that we will never really see again, fingers crossed. And the impact of that, I don't think we're really through what's happening, particularly for our young people as well. I worked on the Silverstone Park schools programme last year, bringing young school children into engineering businesses and taking the businesses of Silverstone Park into local schools. And, those kids, in terms of their communication, they've really suffered. That some schools struggle to get those kids out of their bedrooms and back into the classroom. For me personally, COVID was a complete hard stop. So I have been coaching and working in events in parallel for about sort of 6 years. And my last events job was working for Shell on their motorsports program, delivering, Formula One events and going to the wonderful factory in Maranello 55 times a year. It was just like, okay, yeah, I've seen it. Seen a Ferrari, great. All of that stopped. And so I pivoted myself to what can I do? And what I can do is I can coach online, I can train online. So I pivoted online, and it's actually, it was almost a forced hand that has helped me develop my business further than I would have done if I was left to choose between glamorous motorsport work and doing the hard work and growing a business from scratch, effectively. I think in terms of my clients, I think at-home working, then hybrid working, and now this weird murky place that we're in at the moment, where some people won't come back into the office, some people are desperate to get back into the office, some business owners are struggling with trust. Are my people working hard enough at home? When in the reality, according to the stats, people were working harder and longer and more than they had ever worked before. And our lines were blurred. We were beaming into people's bedrooms. We've never had that crossing of lines in terms of personal work relationships. It's a really weird place to be. So again, I'm working with one of the Silverstone Park businesses. All of their team are remote, and they're struggling because actually their communication, they're a relatively small team, but actually we're coming together to create something called a team charter. How do we engage? How do I communicate with you? Am I sending you emails after 6? Do I expect you to respond on WhatsApp? All of that really basic rule making. I need to go and pick up the kids from school, so I'm not available between 3 and 3:30. All of those really simple things that I think we've forgotten where the lines and the boundaries are. And the only way you're going to get back to that is to sit down and have a conversation with your team and go, is this working? No, it's not working. Hello, it's not working for me. Can we do it differently? Of course we can do it differently, because we have already survived and flexed and, kind of found new ways of working. So 100% COVID was a good thing for me in a weird way. And, professionally, and it definitely gave us time to think and stop as a couple with my partner and I. But I don't underestimate the impact that it's had on how people are working and how they're coping at work as well. What's your experience?
Yeah, similar, to be honest. I think professionally, so for those that aren't aware, so Longhurst, we're based in Silverstone Park, which is where I'm sat now. So we're financial planners, wealth managers. We work with predominantly senior execs, business owners, helping them to basically understand how close to financial independence are they, and if they're not close, what things do they need to do, how do they need to save, invest, tax plan, get their stuff in order to be able to then achieve that independence at whatever age they want. And so for us, with the existing clients that we work with, but also new ones that were being introduced to us during COVID, a lot of the conversation, certainly for those a bit older, was about fast tracking their exit or their pivot into a different way of life, because they realized that they were unhappy that seeing family members and perhaps colleagues passing away due to COVID or other ailments but during that period of time, sort of focused the mind on actually, what am I doing this all for? How much is enough? Have I had enough of this way of life? And so positively, similar to what you're saying, I think for a number of clients, COVID, bar the horror of COVID, actually was positive to help them position themselves into making firmer decisions about exiting or making some positive changes. Personally, for me, I lent into the community during COVID. I by all accounts am a natural carer and somebody that wants to take care of people and support them. I guess that's why I do what I do as a profession for the families that we work with. And so I ran a weekly quiz that then became a fortnightly quiz and then a monthly quiz 24 months later. But I got the community together with some of my clients who aren't part of the community, and so that created some fantastic friendships. I lent into supporting the local community of clients' children, by sending out good giving books, personal wellbeing books for children, hand delivering them to neighbours and other families that we know, to make sure that the children's wellbeing was taken care of. By all accounts, those books are still used today, which is fantastic.
Amazing.
And then we ran a number of sort of online events, including a sort of NHS sort of COVID picnic, virtual picnic, where I paid for some musicians to play for us a variety of different tunes and requests, and we raised over £1,000 for the local NHS Northamptonshire Trust for that. And so for me, it was, I just need to be doing things and be proactive, which also then saw us produce, I think, another 40 episodes for this podcast, getting up to, I think, 100 we got up to by the end of I think 2021. Yeah, I think, which seems so long ago, doesn't it?
I know. Time is not really the same linear experience that it was pre-COVID for some reason.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? So so for me personally, I just lent in to the community, to my friends, to clients, because that's where I felt like I could add value and be useful. For existing clients and for people that we were meeting, it was more just about fine-tuning their decision process and their timescales to making change. And COVID sort of helped with that, positively or negatively. And now we're in 2023. And similar to you, sort of onwards and upwards, our business is pivoted. We're working remotely. We were already tech-led business, so predominantly paperless anyway. And so COVID didn't impact us from a sort of systems and processes perspective. But what it did do was empower clients to themselves lean into Zoom meetings and virtual meetings, where instead of having a face-to-face 2-hour meeting over coffee, biscuits, and what have you in an office, actually you could do a really focused 40-minute over Zoom and didn't have the travel time either side. And so I think for both clients and us, for those that certainly want those types of virtual relationships, it's sort of helped support and fast track those. So so all in all, pretty positive. And I think, like a lot of people, I put on a load of weight over COVID because of just sitting around doing a bit too much eting, occasional evening drinking.
I certainly got a chocolate habit post dinner that I've never recovered from.
Absolutely. Which was like, and so I then sort of cut out drinking for 6 months and then lost a bunch of weight and sort of tried to get myself a bit healthier as you breach your 40s and no going back. So anyway, so that's my experience.
Go on, I'm going to jump in. Tell me about you mentioned the community a lot, and it's clear that you curate that, as you work very hard in terms of building those relationships, and kind of, I think it is important in those tricky times to sort of lean into your kind of core values, and caring about people clearly is one of yours. I know that I've been on the receiving end of one of your book deliveries, which I very much appreciated. And those, I'm a card giver. My partner takes the mick out of me because I'm doing my correspondence, and I love sending cards to friends and family, and just, kind of those little impromptu things. I also have a friend who opens it and immediately puts it in the bin, which I'm all right with. To be honest, it's okay.
Yeah.
She puts it in the recycling bin. That's fine. So you and also Longhurst are based at Silverstone Park. You're calling us now from your lovely, lovely office. There's a great coffee machine there, by the way, if anyone wants to pop in and see Chris. And a beer fridge. Even though, not drinking at the moment. What is it like being part of that Silverstone Park community in the STC?
Epic. It's really good. So, we launched in 2018 as a business. I moved, my partner and I moved to the area in 2018 on purpose so that I could then launch this business here. And 2 months later, launched this podcast that we're on as a mechanism to fast track how I met people. So instead of me going to networking events and being the financial professional that does IHT seminars and all these boring events that no one wants to attend or speak to me about, of course, because nor would I. Instead, I went and lent in with the podcast, which obviously has gone on to be really successful. But what that enabled me to do was meet the community in a really relaxed environment where I could talk to them about what they do as a business, the genesis behind why they got into engineering and tinkering in garages with their cars, with their dads, etc., and learning about all of these different things. But what then came from that was friendships, including the likes of Pim, who's the CEO of the Technology Cluster, plus many, many other people who are part of the community. And so I think from a business development perspective, it's fantastic. From a networking perspective, great. For building trusted friendships and allies here, amazing, plus a handful of mates. And so all in all, it's been a fantastic sort of journey for me personally and for our business. The office blocks of the innovation centre is a really cool place to work. So I'm not sure how many businesses are here, maybe 20, 25 businesses are based out of here, plus a virtual office sort of collection of individual firms. And then clearly you've got the business park itself, including sort of the old units that are still here with some fantastic businesses and some really cool cars and vehicles based out of there. And then the sort of new units that Silverstone Park and the team here are building, including Lunares and a bunch of other cool companies, which we'll be getting on the pod again, which we'll talk to us about later. And then outside of my office here, I can see the new Aston Martin building.
Which then opens this weekend at the British Grand Prix. Yeah,
it opens this weekend. And it looks fantastic. And then directly opposite that are some good friends and clients of ours, Silverstone Composites, and so and we see them frequently for coffees, plus other businesses that we work with who we sort of get together for lunches and get-togethers. And so I think all in all, for those that are watching this and considering joining either the Silverstone Technology Cluster, which is a sort of paid for membership sort of club that's part of this community, or thinking about potentially moving here physically, or even taking up a virtual office space here, which we did when we first opened, I would highly endorse it. Cost wise, it's low cost, fantastic community. You can come on this podcast, be interviewed by Fiona or myself, probably Fiona, because she'll be better at it than me. There's sort of social networking as well. So there's sort of sports days, pizza vans, burger vans, yoga, gym, five-a-side football, you name it, they do it here. And from what I'm hearing, that they're going to be doing a lot more of it over the next couple of years with more infrastructure, more units. I think there's going to be a gym opened here, a creche opened here for those with children. So all in all, fantastic spot to work at.
Amazing. Shall we give a little sneak peek about some of the guests that we are?
Go on.
Okay.
Who have we got on? Who have we got coming on?
Okay. Coming up, we have got, drum roll. So you mentioned Lunares. So we've got David Lorenz, who's the founder and CEO of Lunares. And for those of you who don't know, they upcycle and electrify other traditional kind of industrial vehicles as we're heading towards carbon zero. But also they electrify really, really beautiful classic cars. So if you're driving around Silverstone, you might see a beautiful billboard of an Aston Martin, which apparently was David Beckham's son's wedding car, full electric kit. So they're a really interesting, forward-thinking organisation, classic Silverstone Park type organisation, who are working very hard at the moment. So we're going to speak to David. We're also going to speak to a gentleman called James Densley, who is the Chief Technical Director of a company called TDF. TDF do a couple of things, but one of their most exciting things is they design and build the TDF ones. So they get genuine Formula One chassis, and then they retrofit them so that you can start them with 2 people rather than 30 mechanics and all of that kind of heavy duty stuff that we see at Formula One with big teams. So for those of you with enough pocket money to buy your own Formula One car to go tromping around on a racetrack with, TDF is the team for you. So listen up to that. Then we've got the lovely Lena Gade. Lena's been on the pod before. And Lena is a very, very dear friend of mine. I love Lena. Some of you may know her as the Audi winning Le Mans engineer, you know, kind of superstar, 3 years on the trot. Currently, Lena is the vehicle dynamics manager for a company called Multimatic, but she's also working with the Neon McLaren Extreme E team as one of their senior principal race engineers. And cool. Also, she is one of the latest trustees to join the board of the Silverstone Museum. So lots of different hats for Lena. And then finally, another guest that we've got coming up is Darren Cox. He's the CEO of DCC & Co. But he was also the innovator behind the Nissan PlayStation GT Academy. Now, that was the brainchild that took gamers from their bedrooms into actual racing cars. And I don't know if you've seen it, Chris. I've got a sneaky peek that you've seen it. Coming out is the new Gran Turismo film with Orlando Bloom playing Darren to tell the story of the racing driver Jan Mardenborough. So we've got some really interesting conversations coming up. And as Chris, I don't know if you've already said this, but we would love to hear from the community of the Inside Silverstone Tech Park, the Technology Cluster. If you want to come and talk to us, please contact us on the podcast notes, and we would love to get you on, because actually this is what it's about, right? This is our community, learning from each other, hearing from each other, and sort of, you know, developing our skills, our relationships, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, no, so totally endorse that. So for people listening to this, if you'd like to come on the podcast, we'd love to have you on. So this is episode 101. Dare I say, we're going to get it up to episode 200. I'm not sure we're going to be doing them every week, but perhaps every other week. And so, you know, we are looking for interesting guests. So whether it's yourself or somebody that you know, get in contact with us either through the show notes. So there'll be directions through the show notes. Or through the insidesilverstone.co.uk website. So please come on. Talking about cool, fast cars, it's in Gran Turismo, and you're right, I have seen a trailer for that film. It looks very, very good, and I have a funny feeling my cinema buddy, which is Pim, who's the CEO of the cluster, and I will be going to watch that.
Do you want to come and watch Barbie with me? Because that's my next.
No, I'll do that because
hence the pink.
Standard. Well, Longhurst pink, right? So we're all over that. You know, real men wear pink, even though I'm wearing blue right now. But anyway, we digress. Fast cars and indeed first cars. So in episode 100, which was the episode where the community interviewed me for, I think, an hour or 40 minutes. Very embarrassing for me. I talk about my first car, which was a green Fiesta, and a funny story around hair stuck to the ceiling of the car when I sold it and I didn't clean it. And
specify it was head hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
hair gel.
When I had more hair, it stuck to the ceiling. But so I digress. What was your first car?
Oh, my first car. It was a Peugeot 106, navy blue. I think it might have cost me like 300 quid. It was a lot of money for me. And she had a beer stain on the roof of the car. Someone had like left a bit beer in, she'd been to France a lot, and someone had spilt some beer and left it in the sunshine, and all the paint had kind of like stripped away. God knows what it was. And I know this isn't a French beer, but I called her Stella consequently. That was her name. And Stella was great. I used to bomb back and forth to university from my mum's. I'd go home for weekends and stuff. I was still working at home. But Stella, when I bought the car, the owner gave me like a pound's worth of 5p pieces in a little bag. And I was like, what's this for? So Stella's indicators would only work if you wedged a 5p piece next to the hazard light. So, and I bought the car fully committed to my 5p piece commitment. And I was like, why so many? And he's like, well, sometimes they kind of, it will drop off because it's just wedged it in the button of the hazards. And of course, I'd be careering round a roundabout, within the speed limits, obviously. And the 5p piece would just ping off, and I was like be scrabbling around for the next one so that I could indicate where I was coming off the roundabout.
How did that pass its MOT, or do I not want to know about that?
I don't know. It was all legal and above board. But yeah, so I loved Stella. She was brilliant, and she was cool, and she was mine. And then as part of my degree, I needed to go and do a work placement. And so I chose to go and live on a remote island in the Great Lakes of Michigan where there are no cars at all, Chris. There's a fire truck, an ambulance and a police car, and that's it. It's horses and carriages, it's bicycles. Mackinac Island in Michigan, big shout out to my American cousins and friends. So I had to sell Stella to buy the flight ticket, basically, to get myself to the States. And so I was driving her to the rendezvous point, which was the John Lewis car park in Kingston. And I was desperate for the bathroom on my way. So I pulled into a pub car park, ran into the bathroom, and then got out again, and then accidentally reversed her into a Land Rover or something. Little bump. Anyway. Yeah. So I pulled up to the car park, the underground car park of John Lewis, and reversed her up to the wall and sort of said, "Sold a scene, 300 quid. Here's a bag of 5p's." So yeah, no serious damage, just a little bit of paint transfer. But yeah, so I lost my Stella. I loved that car, so much fun.
Do you know what? I've literally just had to Google where Stella's made. It's Belgium, right? I was like, isn't it a French beer? It's Belgium.
Yeah, Stella is Belgium. Sorry, no, Stella was a Peugeot. She was a Peugeot.
What about dream car? So, dream car or dream vehicle?
Go on, you tell me yours first. What's your dream? What are you dreaming of at the moment?
I don't have sort of a dream car. I've already got quite a nice car, but I have been looking at, and I do want to get a VW type camper van. I just come back from Bali, so I've just learned to surf as a 40-something-year-old. So I was like, actually, get a VW van, surfboard, stand-up paddleboard, some skis for the winter, and then just drive to different places. I think is probably on the horizon this year. I'm going to wait until the end of the summer when prices fall a little bit, and then potentially get one.
You're going to go electric? You're going to go for the buzz?
No. I've already got an electric car, so I already have that range anxiety from time to time. No, we'll go good old fashioned diesel DSG automatic gearbox. something that's a bit of a tank and reliable. But yeah, I'll be looking into that. And actually, interestingly, if anyone's listening or watching this, the one listener that is listening to this episode, if you know of any decent camper vans that are for sale, please let me know. Hook me up, please. And what about you? So, dream car, next car. What's next?
I've got dreams of living an Italian lifestyle. So I want like a very old school Fiat 500. And like maybe an aqua kind of baby blue, like a Riva sort of internal dash, like, the boat style dashboard, like a little bit of walnut or just cream, gorgeous, lushy cream leather, maybe one of those ridiculous canvas soft tops that makes it look like a holiday go-kart. And I can just see myself pootling around, with a headscarf and some big sunglasses, thinking I'm Audrey Hepburn. But realistically, I mean, it's a tin can. So, you know, there's I can't be hurtling up and down the M1 in my little Fiat 500
Well, I
old
don't know
school.
the way you drive. I think you probably could, and then obviously with a bag of 5p's by your side,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So yeah, so that would be my little dream booping about kind of car, I think,
Well,
for now. So
we've got to make that happen, and then we'll get a video of you or a photo of you driving it around. But look, I think before we close it off, is there anything else that you want to say? Any input to those listening to the show?
yeah, just, you know, like we've touched on, the purpose of this show, as Chris kind of created it, and you know, now I'm really grateful to have been asked to join, Chris. Thank you very much. I know it took a little while for me to, you know, be able to say yes, but I'm really grateful that I'm joining. And I just would love to meet the community, get to know them, their businesses and their people better. So don't be shy, you know, knock on our door or knock on Chris's door at the technology cluster. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to meet the community, really.
Well, look, you know, I'm delighted that you come on. It was clear when we did our interview all those many months ago that you have the right energy and approach to running your own podcast, and so just offering you the opportunity to come on and co-host this was just a complete no-brainer for me. So thank you for coming on, and it's irrelevant how long it takes to build these things, whatever it is. If it's worth doing, it will take whatever time it needs to take. For those listening to this, if you want to come on the pod, it's really easy. You just need to contact us. We've got sort of a pre-interview brief, which we'll send out to you, which is a list of the sort of typical questions that we would ask. And then the interview will be set up via Zoom like this, nice and easy. Before the record button's pressed, you'll have a conversation with myself or Fiona, just a quick get to know you chat, talk through any particular questions that you'd like sort of covered, or any topics relating to your business or otherwise that you'd like us to include. There's no cost for it. We'll promote it. We'll provide you with the content and the assets, imagery, links for sort of download the interviews for your own blog or website. So we'll give you all of that stuff at absolutely no cost. You just need to come on, talk, waffle a bit, wax lyrical about how amazing you are, and then either Fiona or I will do the interview. We also need and ask for 5-star reviews on iTunes, and the reason we ask for that is because it will help people listen to your episode and interview if you come on. And so again, in the show notes you'll find links for iTunes, as well as all the other sort of podcast platforms, subject to wherever it is that you download episodes from. So Fiona, I'm going to draw this episode 101 monumentous episode to a close. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and be my glamorous and significantly better co-host than I am, and I look forward to listening to the interviews that you do over the coming weeks. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thanks, Chris. Have a good day.
See you soon.
Bye. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and please give us a 5-star review.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst. To listen to more episodes, please visit insidesilverstone.co.uk. Please note neither Fiona or Chris work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Technology Cluster or Silverstone Circuit.